Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the People on the Go Lunch and Learn webinar. My name is Melissa Sweat, Customer Relationship and Community Manager at People on the Go, and I'll be moderating our session today. You are here for why every business person needs to be an AHA leader. And I have with me Mitchell Levy, who I'll be introducing in just a moment. But before we start, let's just do a quick check to make sure that you can hear me just fine and see the screen. Go ahead and locate the questions panel and go to webinar and just type in a brief note letting me know that everything is fine. You can hear me, say okay, hello, hi. Hi, Samantha, thank you so much. I'll wait for a few more confirmations just to be sure. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Lynn. Okay, great. I think we're ready to roll. If you are needing assistance, the number to call is on the screen, 1-800-263-6317. We will also be sending you a link to the recording after, so if you missed anything, you can review it at your leisure. Just a quick background about why we have these sessions, these complimentary lunch and learns at People on the Go, especially for those who are with us for the first time. We have these sessions because our focus is productivity and leadership in the workplace. And the topics that you see on the screen are some of the topics that we cover. We have a very special offer today from our presenter, Mitchell. And Mitchell will have more information on this toward the end of the session, so please do stay tuned for that. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce Mitchell now. Mitchell Levy is an accomplished entrepreneur who has created 20 businesses in Silicon Valley, including 4 publishing companies that have published over 800 books. Currently, Mr. Levy is the AHA Guy at AHAthat and CEO of Think AHA. He is a best-selling author with 56 business books and a contributor at Entrepreneur Magazine. In addition to these accomplishments, Mr. Levy has provided strategic consulting to over 100 companies, advised over 500 CEOs on critical business issues, and has been chairman of the board of a NASDAQ-listed company. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mitchell, and this will take just a moment here to transition.
Okay, I did the show my screen. Is it working yet?
Yes, looks great, Mitchell. We can see it just fine.
Beautiful. Hey, thank you so much, Melissa. Great to actually be here. I've got to move very quickly, and one of the things you'll see here is I use the term AHA leader, and I will explain that in a minute. But for those who want the end result, thought leader, expert in your field are all synonymous in terms of terms. What I want to do is start with the AHA, and that is when you get an AHA, when you get excited, when somebody shares with you something that you really, it causes you to think about the world differently. You know, the coolest thing you could do is let them know about it. They will remember you in a much better way when you actually present to them that they've helped reframe what you've been thinking about in a new way. And in today's world, we need lots of reframing. Here's one of my friends who made a comment, and I told him I loved it so much. So Richard Bliss, and this was regarding using social media inside a corporation. So a exec at his company said, hey, why do I need to do social? Why do I need to establish myself as a thought leader, an expert in my space? His response was simply, if you don't use 21st century technology, how can I trust you to run a 21st century company? And that would be something that the shareholders would echo. Crazy, right? All right, so let's give you a couple ahas of mine. The new attention span is 7 seconds, enough time to read a tweet or to read the title of a webinar or an article. So you got to capture somebody's attention quickly. Make sure you make it count. 80% of the content that thought leaders share should be somebody else's. So what you want to encourage is the opportunity that you find good, compelling content that you're actually sharing of other people's, and the stuff that you share yourself is only 20%, and most of it is good, originated content, and some of it is a commercial. So only a small percentage of what you ever want to share on social media is a commercial for yourself. And here's one that I find extremely important, and that is 100% of the employee base needs to be advocates. They need to be able to share the content that is relevant for the audience that you're serving. So a lot of times people say, hey, what does thought leadership really mean? If you want to see more information on this, you can go to thinkaha.com. I have a tab for thought leadership, and here's my definition. And I look at it as a 2x2, and every marketer needs some 2x2 in their presentation. So this is thought leadership is audience by content. And so what's relevant here is if you have a large audience but a small amount of content, I've never seen this before, that's where I classify an evangelist. They talk about one thing, their company, their product, and that's all they talk about. But they have a real robust audience who are listening to it, hopefully. Otherwise, they're in the unknown space. A relatively small audience for what you need, but a large amount of content, you're an expert. And of course, the large amount of audience for the right amount of content. So let me rephrase. Instead of saying the large amount of audience, let me say the right audience for the right content makes you the thought leader. And when I use the word right, you don't have to be, if your thought leadership, if the audience you're going after is a very small targeted segment, then that's all you need, and you need the right amount of content to reach that segment. We'll get into that a little bit further. So what happens if you merge all these together? So you take the thought leader with the right audience for the right content. All of your employees are actually thought leaders. 80% of the content they share is somebody else's, and they're doing it in 7-second sound bites. Wait for the AHA. You get the AHA leader. And the way I look at the AHA leader, it is your own personal curator, right? It's a person you go to with a particular question on a particular area because A, they've researched the area, they're the expert, and B, they're going to give you an answer that's relevant to you, not that's relevant to them, right? Very powerful to be thinking about the world in that way. So here are 3 activities that you can do to become the AHA leader, and this is what's necessary in my mind for success in the future. First is to become an instant expert, and I'm going to just give you 2 ways to do that. One way to become an instant expert is to start a group on social media or in the physical world and invite people to come. So those people who own a LinkedIn group or Facebook group or Pinterest boards or Twitter list, or if you have a meetup group and people come, how often do you think that the organizer of the meeting is the expert in a space, whether or not they are or not? It's pretty amazing, but you grab a group and you get people following you and you're the expert, and try it out, see for yourself, or just think about those people or those groups that you're part of today. The second instant expert opportunity is to write a book. When you write a book, you are considered the expert in that space. And so I'll just give you a quote, Marshall Goldsmith, who I look at as the foremost change expert, but the #1 CEO coach in the world. His statement to me when I interviewed him was, my first book took me out of the role of trainer and into the role of thought leader. And he is absolutely amazing at what he does. Mike Brooks, who is Mr. Inside Sales, I love this quote. Rather than being 1 in 1,000, I'm now sought out by people who have seen the reviews, heard the podcast as a recognized authority, and guess who gets the job? It's the person who has the book. So we as a publishing company, I own about 4 different publishing companies, and we've published over 800 titles and been doing this for about a decade. And so I just give you the landscape a little bit. The traditional publisher, the New York publisher, 1,000 hours to write by the time you're done, 1 to 2 years to publish. The self-publisher, or you could even throw the hybrid publishers in there, typically 120 hours to write and 2 to 6 months to publish. So what I want to say to you is, what if I told you you could write a book in 8 hours and publish it in 1 to 14 days? And we do have another webinar coming up next week where I'm actually going to show you how to write your book. So it's a half-hour webinar, how to write your book in 8 hours or less. So that brings us to the second activity, creating an instant book. What I need to do is tell you just a little bit about AHAthat. You can go to AHAthat.com today, and there are over 37,000 pieces of curated content that you could share today for free. So if you want content to share with other people, you can actually do that just by going to AHAthat.com, using it as a guest or signing up. It's free to use and free to share. Authoring typically takes 8 hours to write an AHA book, And then we have a promotion tab where you can actually manually promote content of other people or automatically do that as well. What I thought I might do is show you or talk to a little bit about what a social media enabled ebook is. But before we start, and I'm going to go through this super quick, but we have books on leadership from some great authors, which you could see the authors and the names and the covers. Same here on small business entrepreneurship, sales and marketing. Once again, some really good content, and inside each book, and I'll show you a little bit more, but inside each book is comprised of 140 bite-sized quotes. Social media. This book is kind of fun. The Social Media Works for Filipino Students. We had a teacher who was teaching a senior level class in marketing, had 72 students in her class all contribute to the book. 6 months after the book was done, or 6 months after the students graduated, 50% of the students said they got their first job because they were a part of this book. For those that love Ted Rubin, we have his book in digital form, and sharing this content with your audience, they'll get excited about it. Careers, job search, self-help, and consumer, finance and accounting. We've taken some classic books from the public domain. The latest one is The Wizard of Oz. You'll be surprised at the self-help and sort of very cool content that we pulled out of The Wizard of Oz. So you could actually go to the platform and start sharing content from The Wizard of Oz or P.T. Barnum or whoever else makes sense. And then we also have some fun books. And I'll show you an example of this, but if you want to say thank you to somebody, you can just go and share with them aha.pub/thank you. And we've got 30 plus phrase books. What we do is we take a phrase and we put it into 100 plus languages. So here's an example, and I reminded myself the other day, somebody did something amazing for me, and so I wanted to say they're awesome. So I typed into or actually in this case, this was mine, but I typed into their Twitter stream or their Facebook stream, aha.pub/you are awesome, and this pops up automatically, and that's all you have to do. You hit return. So that's talking about maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds to type it in and share, and you've communicated a message. They click on this, they then see the phrase "you are awesome" in 100 languages. Pretty cool stuff. Go to aha.pub/phrases to actually see the phrase books that we have. The reason we can do the authoring, or say we have the authoring done in 8 hours or less, we've had 300 authors do this, and I'm not going to go through the details here. We'll do a little bit more of going through the details next time, but we have an 8-step proven process that you can actually see at ahathat.com/author. All the content is there for you to see and to take advantage of. And what you're seeing here, the blue stuff is what author does, the green stuff is what we do, and we do our job to make you look as good as you can and to make it as easy for you to actually write your book. The thing to be thinking about is, okay, where do I get the content from? Well, that's kind of cool. Everywhere you've done in the past, right? So presentations, Twitters, blog posts, YouTube, white papers, webinars, collateral. You can see you can create your employee handbooks with doing this. What's really interesting is 2 hours of recorded content. So if you don't have anything on the topic you're going after, 2 hours of recorded content is enough to pull out 140 quotes and make an AHA book. So it is relatively easy to do that. Now, what's super cool is here's what the AHAthat platform looks like, and here's what an AHA book looks like. And I know it's hard to see. Think of this as 3 pages of your book, and any of those pages can be shared on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+. Your book can also be turned into a PDF for lead gen, a Kindle, so now you're listed on Amazon, or paperback and hardcover versions. So once you do your AHA book, you can then have us convert them into other formats. So 8 hours to write, 1 to 14 days to publish. Here's where it gets interesting. If you could snap your fingers and write a book, what would you do with it? Would you write just one? Would your book be broad or narrow in scope? So while I'm talking about that, let's go to, Melissa, let's go to the survey or the poll.
Great.
And what I'd like everyone to type in is, what do you write your book on? Do you write your book on what you are an expert in today? Do you write your book on what you get paid to do today? And or do you write your book on what you get paid to do tomorrow? Now, Melissa, I'm not seeing the screen with the survey results.
Yeah, no,
And
no
so
problem, Mitchell. It's actually going right now, and 20% have voted. We'll wait just a few more seconds to get more
beautiful.
in here. Let's wait until we get at least 50%.
Beautiful. Yeah, this is easy. So, by the way, guys, there's no, I'm going to say which I prefer. Um, but, this is one of those, it's not one of those tests that you pass fail. I'm going to hopefully give you an aha moment and give you an opportunity to share or to change the framework in which you're thinking about this.
So really cool
So I'm going
results
to,
here, Mitchell. We have 50% said what you are an expert in today, and then we had a 25-25 split between what you get paid to do today, 25%, and what you get paid to do tomorrow, 25. So the
uh,
majority was what you are an expert in today.
that's absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to vote. And so let me just go back here. So, if I was typing, I would say 50% answer number one, 25% two, and 25% three. A lot of times we get 80% to do number one, 10 to 15% to do number two, and 5 to 10% to do number three. Now, let's go back to this page. If you could snap your fingers and write your book, what do you do with it? You're writing your book to get more business, right? The more business you're getting, you're now the expert in the field, you're getting more speaking, more consulting, more product sales. Would you write just one? No, you write as many as humanly possible, and you want your books to be as narrow in scope as possible. And what I'd say to you going back to this slide, you write your book for number three, what you get paid to do tomorrow. It's very natural for people to think about having an expertise in an area and wanting to write a book on what they're an expert in today. It's very natural also for people to say, hey, I get paid to do this today. Let me write a book today. So let me tell you what nirvana is. Nirvana is when all three are the same, right? So you get to the point in life where you're the expert, you're getting paid to do it today, you're going to get paid to do it tomorrow, man, and you're happy. Hey, that's nirvana. But if you're not living in the world of nirvana, you want to create nirvana for yourself, and you do it by writing a book on what you want to get paid to do tomorrow. Okay, so that's the answer. So, oh, and what I thought I'd mention, and this is always for me as a reminder because I always forget, an AHA book is comprised of 140 bite-sized quotes. Well, guess what? When you've done that, you've also put together 1 to 2 quarters of your social media content. Very cool stuff. All right, let's go to the third area, and that is building your brand. And I'm happy to answer questions at the end if you're thinking about any of this stuff. And hopefully, you all have had some aha moment at some time along the way. Had the chance of talking with the late J. Conrad Levinson, the father of guerrilla marketing. And what he said was guerrilla marketing has sold 24 million copies in 57 different languages. He wrote it in response to a need. If there is a need, then a book will work. This relates very heavily to just what I said. If there's an audience that you want to serve tomorrow, you write a book that talks about how their issues are being solved, and guess what? You then become the AHA leader in that space, and you're able to get paid tomorrow to do what you want to do today. This happens to be what the AHAthat platform looks like. What I thought I would do is just, this is another way to build your brand, 80% of the content being other people's content. So, we've got at the moment over 600,000 users, 37,000 quotes that you could share today. And think about this is what, so this is Brad Freeman's book on digital marketing. We just published a book, Irish Proverbs. Particularly by St. Patty's Day, but anytime you want to share Irish Proverbs, you can do that. And so what happens is you have the ability to click on any of these buttons. So I think the next slide, well, maybe it doesn't. So I'll just say you can click on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Plus, or Gaggle app if you're using that at your corporation, and things get shared. Click on View AHA Book, you see the entire book. Here's a quote that I love from Lori Ruff. Authentically share who you are at your core to inspire those around you. And the cool part is sharing content from other people who agree with what you're talking about. everyone gets benefits. You benefit because you're sharing good, compelling content. Your audience benefits because they're hearing good, compelling content, and the other thought leader whose content you're sharing benefits because, once again, you're sharing you're sharing their content to your audience. So what's the AHA here? Being an AHA leader isn't easy, and with the right tools and processes, it isn't hard either. We all have the ability to go out and be the experts in the field that we want to be to get paid for. And many of us are experts today, and we're just not even putting the hats on and thinking about it in such a way we're taking advantage. So here's the steps for using AHAthat. Just go to AHAthat.com and start sharing content. You could crowdsource or write an AHA book, and then, of course, you could turn your AHA book into physical books if you want. And sharing a hardcover book with 140 bite-sized quotes is very powerful in terms of showing who you are and communicating the message you want to communicate. So I want to present the offer we have. We typically charge $450 to publish an AHA book. And so you would just go, if you went to AHAthat.com/author, you'll see the process. You'll be able to go to this shopping cart. I want to give you a coupon that will be valid for the next 24 hours before we turn it off. So I just wanted to let you know this is not going to be out there forever. And the coupon is WS100. So if you want to submit your AHA book, or even if you're thinking about doing it sometime in the future, so in the next quarter you want to get there, although maybe because of Super Bowl you're not going to do it this weekend, but you only need a Saturday to get your book done. And we have tons of stories of people who have written their books on a Saturday and got clients much faster within 10 days afterwards. So if you type in WS100, you'll get $100 off, and this is the shopping cart field for that. So $350 to publish. We do for you a cover design, a copy edit, and a content edit. The rest of the process you'll see and we'll talk about next week. And what I thought I would do specifically for this audience, if anyone would want their book featured next week in next week's presentation, if you're the first to say yes and have your book done, so you could write your book over the next couple of days, we'll publish it before next week, and then I'll feature it next week during the discussion. If you're interested, make sure you say yes, either directly on the submission forms at AHAthat, or even here, if all of a sudden you say, man, I've got to do this, please go right ahead and make that happen, and we're happy to accommodate. Here is some content to get back to me. So email address, phone number. Think AHA is the primary site where I do thought leadership consulting. What we've talked about here is AHAthat. So certainly go to AHAthat.com and AHAthat.com/author for writing. I do run a social media enabled ebook. Actually, I'm sorry. I do run a thought leadership best practices group on LinkedIn. And so you can go there, aha.pub/, and then this is the URL, T-L-B-P. I have to decide if I want to do that. It's a lot of dashes. And you could also take a look at, we do lots of, I repurpose content often. And so we shoot videos, create audios. I basically take 2 hours worth of recorded content to create AHA books, and that's demonstrated over at Thought Leader Live. And then if you're interested in having me speak or consult, particularly on radio or physical speaking, the AHA Guy is where you'll see more about me. And Melissa, I'd be happy to give it back to you and answer any questions that may have cropped up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mitchell. I'm going to switch back to my slides here. And everyone, if you have any questions, please go ahead and start to ask them now in the questions panel, and we'll get to the Q&A in just a few moments. Here once more is Mitchell's contact information, if you want to jot that down. I also sent you in the chat panel the discount code WS100, so be on the lookout for that. Just go ahead and copy that and you'll have it handy. A few reminders before we get into the Q&A. We'd also like to invite you to become a member of our groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. They're called Accomplishing More with Less. You can find some handy links to those on our site. You can also check out Pierre Khawand's new book, The Perfect 15-Minute Day Method. We have a Facebook page for this and also a LinkedIn page as well. And of course, you can follow our founder, Pierre Khawand, on Twitter at Pierre Khawand. Some upcoming webinars for you from us at People on the Go. We have advanced Microsoft pivot tables coming up on the 16th, Google Docs and Drive later on the 23rd, and then our new webinar, which is based on the perfect 15-minute day method, is mindfulness at work, a really cool workshop that'll get you going in productivity in all areas, thoughts, emotions, time management, and more. And that's coming up early next month. And so now for our Q&A.
We have a AHA book on mindfulness,
I'm
and
sure. I'm
yeah,
sure there's an
yeah.
AHA book for just about everything. It's so
Oh,
really
well, not
cool.
yet. We need, there's a lot of content. So I'm just sharing on the chat the mindfulness book. It's aha.pub/mindfulness.
Awesome.
Um, and and then yeah, if you want to do some stuff that's fun, aha.pub/phrases. Grab a phrase that you like. We've got quite a few so far, and I'm absolutely excited about the new ones that are coming out and being able to use this. If you want to say happy birthday, what better way than to go into their Facebook screen, type in their thing, aha.pub/happy birthday, and automatically they're wished happy birthday in 100 plus languages.
Very cool. Very neat. Mitchell, I have a question here. So you mentioned, some great ways to get content, and that the majority of the content of the books are from other sources. How do you recommend that someone who's interested in writing a book really narrow down their niche? Is there kind of a questionnaire that you guys help potential writers with to kind of zero in? Because I think that might be maybe overwhelming. Well, where do I start? What really is
Oh,
my specialty, or
it's a
where do I want to go?
that's a great question. So first, let me add to your question. Uh, what I mentioned was 80% of the content you share socially
Mm.
should be from other people.
Oh, okay.
In your AHA book, um, you could you could grab people. You could grab 80% of the content elsewhere. I actually wrote a book on why you should write an AHA book. I'll put that in the thing, aha.pub/aha. And I actually interviewed four of my authors, and so in that particular case, 80% of the content in my book were from the interviews, so from other people. But typically, if you're writing a book, most of the authors write content of things they've done. So 100% of your AHA book could be from you,
Okay.
right? Incorporating other people is not a big deal. But where do you start? And we'll talk about this more next week as well. But the primary place for us to start is we have a step number one of the 8-step process is a questionnaire. It's a 4-question questionnaire. What's your name? What's your title? What's the title of the book? Give us a bio. And the most important question is, who is your audience and how will they benefit from the book? And, for some people, they snap their fingers and they get that right away.
Mm-hmm.
And for other people, it's not as easy for them to think about. And so often what happens if somebody fills out question number one and then or step number one, and step number three is a spreadsheet where you can put in your 140 AHA quotes. So if you're really curious, you fill out step number one, you fill out 10 quotes from step number three, you send them in and say, can I have help? And typically what will happen is either somebody on my team will look at it and review, or if you actually mention my name, heard you're on the People on the Go webinar, I'd love Mitchell to give me some quick feedback. I'm happy to give feedback on how I think what you're doing, because what often happens, I want to make sure that your bio conforms with what you want to do, and what you're writing about is also in line with what you want to do, and that's once again thinking about what you want to get paid to do tomorrow, and writing about how you want to, writing about that area, solving the issue of what you want to get paid to do tomorrow is really what I'm going to be focusing on and looking at.
Okay, great. Very cool. And our last question here, as we're getting close to time. So, Mitchell, if I work in an institutional setting, and I'm not, maybe an outside consultant, and maybe you've probably worked with some people who are in this setting. What are the benefits of writing a book?
Oh, well, this is part of my, it's a big part of my consulting practice. And that is corporations are recognizing the importance of having thought leaders or recognized experts in their space inside the company.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you go out and you're speaking at events or writing articles and you're talking about what you're an expert in, you're also incorporating the brand of the company. And it's one more touch point that the customer is either the existing customers are being reinforced that working with experts, or that the new prospect is looking at and going, oh, maybe I should take a look at this company.
Right.
So the benefit for the company is huge because it just gets their brand out. The benefit for you as an individual is the ability to stick at a company and work forever and get and retire and have a retirement plan in place.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that world doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so as a person, your job is to make sure that you're doing branding, personal branding for you, and doing it in line with your corporation. If you do it well enough, your corporation is going to pay to get your brand in the marketplace, and subsequently you'll have many more opportunities going forward than you have today.
Great, wonderful answer. Thank you so much, Mitchell. And thank you all for joining me today and joining us today and for sticking around for 1 or 2 minutes after. We really appreciate it. When you exit the session today, a feedback form will pop up on your screen. If you could please fill that out, we would also appreciate that to get your responses. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Thanks,
Yeah.
Melissa.
Thank you again, Mitchell. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Beautiful. It'll be fun.
Bye bye, Mitchell. Thanks again.
See ya. Bye now.